Good morning, welcome to Wednesday morning's thought for today. We're looking this week at the story of Jesus feeding the 5,000, and we've spent Monday and Tuesday not actually talking about Jesus feeding the 5,000, and so today we're going to actually take a bit of time to focus on it. The disciples are weary. Jesus notices that they need to get away. He decides to take them away, but while they're moving in the boat towards their destination, there's this crowd that has also recognized them, as we thought yesterday, and has decided that they want to go wherever Jesus and his disciples are going. So as Jesus sails, they are actually making their way across by land to where I'm assuming they somehow believe he's going to come ashore. And I think this is fascinating because these people are either really fast walkers as they make their way around the side of the Sea of Galilee, or Jesus maybe doesn't go there as fast as he could. Maybe part of the getting away is just that time together on the water, that place where there are very few distractions, that place where they can maybe talk about things and have a sense that, okay, this is where nobody can get to us, nobody can come after us, we've got a space here to ourselves. And maybe Jesus, knowing what was coming, decided to make the most of the time they had in the boat. I don't know if that's true or not, but to me, as we thought about Monday, they didn't get the time away, and here we find them on the water heading towards somewhere where there's going to be a crowd of 5,000 plus people. So what's going on? Well, anyway, the crowd are there. Jesus arrives, has compassion on them, begins to teach them. The day's pushing on. It's beginning to get late. It's maybe getting a bit chilly in the air as the evening begins to push on. And there's a sense that the disciples are going, we're just so tired, Jesus. Is there not a possibility here that we could just send these people home? Because if they don't go home now, they're not going to get anything to eat on the way, and they're quite a distance away from their homes. And it would be a good idea if you maybe sent them home. And Jesus then hits them with something which they didn't see coming. Let me read the story for you. We're reading from verse 34 of Mark's Gospel, chapter 6. When he went ashore, he saw a great crowd, and he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. And he began to teach them many things. And when it grew late, his disciples came to him and said, "This is a desolate place." Of course it is. That's where Jesus was trying to take his disciples to. And they're basically reminding Jesus that this is a desolate place. In other words, there aren't any shops nearby. And the hour is now late. Send them away to go into the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. But Jesus answered them, "You give them something to eat." And they said to him, "Shall we go and buy 200 denarii worth of bread and give it to them to eat?" And he said to them, "How many loaves do you have? Go and see." This is fantastic, because there's this sense here that the disciples they wanted to, in a sense, have this time with Jesus. They maybe I'm wrong, but maybe there's this part of them where they were just so whacked after this busy time that they'd had going in their twos into the countryside. The crowd had been there for quite a while. It's now got dark, and there's a sense of they've got nothing to eat here, that they haven't come prepared. It's time to sort them out, Jesus. How are we going to sort this out? How are we going to do this? And in some senses, the disciples are focusing on basically what they don't have. They don't have food. We don't have food. So what are we going to do about it? And Jesus does the opposite. Jesus actually focuses on what they do have. He says, well, go and see what there is. So Jesus wasn't saying, yes, that's a good idea. Here, take some money. In fact, you're going to need a lot of money to buy enough food for all these people. He doesn't say to them, okay, yeah, let's send them home now before they get too hungry. Perhaps there were still things Jesus wanted to say to these people. Jesus was saying, go and see what we have. The disciples were saying, we don't have anything. They were focusing on what they didn't have. Jesus was telling them to focus on what they did actually have. And I wonder, sometimes, are we like that in life? Do we focus on the negative? Are we, as the phrase often is, we glass half empty people instead of being glass half full people? In other words, are we looking constantly at the negative side and saying, well, we don't have this and we don't have that, or we can't do this because we haven't got enough of that or the other? And Jesus is saying, hang on, what do we actually have? What do you have that we can actually make use of? And I think sometimes in church life, and I'm not speaking particularly about any particular church here, But in church life, so often we say, well, we can't do this because we don't have the leaders for this, or we can't do that because we don't have enough people who are prepared to volunteer to give us a hand with this. And we can't run this activity and we can't run that activity because we don't have enough. But Jesus is sometimes not saying, this is what I want you to do. Go and find enough people to do it. But he's saying, well, what do you have? In other words, who do you have? Who is there that's available? Because let's work with what we have instead of looking at what we don't have and bemoaning the fact that there is a shortfall and we can't do the things we want to do. But instead look to what we have and then give that to the Lord. Give those people to the Lord and say, Lord, this is who we have. This is who's prepared to give a hand. This is who's prepared to volunteer. This is who we have that can actually get something done. And then Jesus takes that and he blesses that and he uses that for his own glory in ways often that we don't see coming or we're surprised about. And so I want to encourage you, especially as we think towards September, as we think towards starting things back up again. Maybe we don't have what we need, or should I say it a different way? Maybe we don't have what we think we need. Maybe the Lord's not asking us to do the things that we think we should be doing. Maybe there's a different way of doing it. Maybe there's a better way of doing it. Maybe there's a way that we shouldn't be doing it. We should be spending maybe more time with the Lord. These are things we need to think about. The disciples were focusing on what they didn't have, and they were trying to work out a solution based on that. Jesus said, what do you have? Go and see. Go and see what's there. And so by prayer and petition, we go and see what the Lord has given us, what we have to work with, and we give him praise and thanks for that. And we submit it to him, and then he takes and he blesses it according to his will for his glory. That's a big thought for us to think about at this time of year as we're thinking about things, God willing, starting back again in September. Have a think about it, and God willing, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for being with me today. God bless.